Come on and get in! Hey there, welcome to Michael on the Go special tractor edition. And today I wanted to talk to you real quickly. I'm actually going to cross post this both on my tech blog as well as my faith and family blog. And it's around this idea of protecting your brand or caretaking your image online, both for professional and personal reasons. So, you know, if you're like me, I get out there many times and I love to do things on social media. There's Vine, there's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and more. And in this case, I use my Windows phone, right? My Lumia 1020. Love it. I'm posting stuff all the time. But how often have we gotten fat fingered, right? Where we tap inadvertently the wrong keys and it sends out a message that's actually contrary to what we were actually trying to portray. So, you know, I've been guilty of this, and what came to mind was last night. It was actually my son, and I'm not picking on him because a totally honest mistake, but I'd seen earlier in the evening he had gone ahead and he had posted saying he was going to Pittsburgh to see a 40-foot duck. They have this big inflatable duck thing that was on the river. Before he had a weekend full of all kinds of work. Him and some friends were going in to see it, hang out, and have some fun. And I thought, oh, that's great. You know, my son, wonderful kid, very faith-filled, trying to, you know, really live a life. Like he keeps saying, you know, Dad, I don't know what I'm going to be, what I'm going to do, but I'm going to be a saint. So here's somebody who really cares about where he's going and what he's doing, and he's trying increasingly to caretake, you know, what he says and does. Later in the evening, though, he posted a Vine where they were at the duck piece and he was like goofing off. And in the audio, you hear him say, you know, hey, it's a rubber duck party, right? And but when he typed the text, in the case of doing the Vine text, and I'll just actually, I'll bring up in this case my search, you'll notice, I don't know if you can see that, but the D and the F are right next to each other. And so what was supposed to say rubber duck party said something quite different, right? The D and the F. And so it went live. One of his college friends saw it and made a comment. My wife saw it. I don't know who else saw it. And so this thing went out on the internet that portrayed an image of him that wasn't reflective of who he was and who he wanted to be or who he wanted people to perceive him as. So that brings me to how do we caretake our personal brand, our personal image when online? Well, a couple of easy steps, and just this is by no means exhaustive, but some things we should always take care to do. First off, keep in mind what's said on the internet stays on the internet. So, you know, a lot of times people think they post some images, maybe they've gone out to a company party or they're in college and they're at a frat thing or whatever. They post images and they think, ah, no harm, no foul. When they post them, the next day when they look at them, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have, and they go and delete them. Well, guess what? Search engines are constantly indexing these social media sites, and they make catalogs, and those images are then stored on those search engines as part of the index. So and that includes both the text and the images. And those images and text could be available for search for years. So when we post things, you know, number one, think before you post. What am I posting? And the two rules that I like to really think about and relay are this. Would you care if your grandparents saw it, grandma or grandpa? More likely grandma. Do you care? Would it be something you'd be embarrassed if your grandma saw? Or even more importantly sometimes, is this something that when you walk into an interview, would you like your prospective interviewer to bring it up? The reason why I say all that is this. Number one, your grandma might see it. But other people, friends, family, if you're engaging in social media at some point, as the nature of multimedia, social media, news and all that continues to evolve and change, we are putting a perception of who we are that affects how others perceive and receive the content that we put out there, right? You know, so you want to keep that in mind. Number two, prospective employers, they do data mine, they do searches, they do go out there and Bing, Yahoo search, Google search, look at things, pull that up. You may not be confronted with it in that interview, but that might be in the back of their mind, helping them or preventing them from seeing you in any way other than through, you know, tinted lenses. So you want to keep that in mind. So number one, check what you write. I'm guilty of this. We all are. But double check what you're typing before you hit send. Number two, if you're at a party, a social gathering or anything, and you've had some alcohol, don't post. Don't do it live. Do it afterwards. If you're attending and you're not partaking of it, that's fine. So you want to think about that as well. You know, you don't want to post in the moment when your perception may be altered. So keep that in mind. So one, check your spelling. Number two, don't post when you're intoxicated or had anything. Number three, if there is an emotional incident where you're angry, you know, I love my wife, Jerry. We've been married, we've 24, it's going to be 25 years come this next summer. We get in fights, we have arguments, there's family flare-ups and different things. You know, sometimes what happens at home should stay at home and at work, etc. I know I've been guilty in the past where I've been feeling really upset about something, maybe professionally or personally, and posted. And I'll tell you, it's come back to haunt me. I've had year-end reviews where some things that I said or did, while if you look at what goes on in the internet, very tame, right, and innocuous, but came back to haunt me, and I had to learn from that. You want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So when things have you upset, if you're trying to portray a frustration around a social issue or something else, you know, again, think about what you're doing, and are you trying to elicit a reaction, or are you trying to guide the conversation? Because there are very different ways to approach things. Number two, if you're upset with somebody or something, don't automatically go and post. You're probably going to say something you'll regret later. And again, once it's out there, it's out there. Even if you retract it, even if it hasn't been picked up by the search engines yet, you don't know if somebody that you know saw it. So you need to think about that. Think about reviews. Think about, again, that prospective job interview. Think about grandma or mom and dad, whatever the case might be. All those things come into play. And just because the last thing is, just because your profile is private, doesn't mean your information is. Keep in mind, social engines, all these things that are free, nobody rides for free. I ride this tractor here, I'm paying for gas. I had to pay for the tractor, right? Just because at the moment I'm not shelling out cash didn't mean it was free. When you engage in social media and you use services like Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and others, they are data mining that information, those graphics, etc., and using that for profit. It's being sold. So what you're saying and posting, it's out there. Keep that in mind. Take some time to think. You know, just as a last kind of thought, you know, I'm riding a John Deere tractor. When I went to go buy a tractor, my wife first thing, she knows nothing about this kind of stuff. She said, "You're getting a John Deere." I was like, "Well, what about this brand?" And whoa, no, a John Deere. Why? Because they have a brand. They've built a brand, a reputation, right, that is carefully cultivated through good service, great product, and all those other things. But the same kind of care and feeding to building a great brand applies to you, applies to your organization, applies to you professionally and personally. You need to care and cultivate it. Be careful. So, check your spelling. Check your spelling. Loose lips or loose words, whatever, sink ships. Check your spelling, number one. Number two, don't post it if it's something you don't want grandma or a prospective employer to see. Next one, if you've been engaging in the consumption of alcohol, don't post till later when you reviewed stuff. Number three, and the last one is in the heat of the moment, if you're upset about something, angry about something, refrain from posting, wait till later, and then think about what is it I'm trying to do? Am I trying to punish? Am I trying to elicit change, or am I just trying to get somebody upset? More often than not, the posts that I see when people post things, they're just trying to get somebody upset. So think about that. With that, those couple of simple tips, you too can build a great brand, or at least keep yours safe and more reflective of who you want people to see when they see you. You know, when we put on clothes each day, we're putting an image out there to the world that we want to portray. You know, we want people to judge us by our appearance when we head out. We may say contrary, but we do. You go in an interview, what do? You put on a suit and tie, or a nice, dress, or whatever the case might be, but you put on the clothes that are appropriate to the moment to portray an image. Same in social media. Think about what you do. Spell, check your spelling. If grandma, you don't want them to see it, or your prospective employer, don't post it. Don't post it when you've had something to drink, and in the heat of the moment, wait till later. With that, this is Michael on the Go, Tractor Edition, bidding you have a great day. Take care, and as always, ciao.